Live from Studio G in the heart of America, I'm Steve Gruber, saying the things you wish you could in polite company, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom and, well, defending this great nation every single day. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Thank you for being here. Here are three big things you need to know to start your day right now. Number one, we lost one of our friends from the 1990s over the weekend. It seems that massive amounts of money and fame cannot bring you happiness or longevity. Number two, call it whatever you want, but from London to Chicago, riots are breaking out with pro-Palestinian supporters on one side and pro-Israel supporters on the other. Neither is going to back down. And number three, the attacks have been brutal and vicious, and there is no end in sight. In fact, it was all very predictable, but the level and the intensity of the aggression has been even more than I ever expected, way over the top. And I'm not talking about the Israel retaliation against the numerous terrorist attacks on that country. No, I'll get to that. But I'm talking about the naked onslaught from Democrats that have gone on a very aggressive campaign to discredit and smear the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson of Louisiana. He's the new favorite target of the rabid, anti-Donald Trump hating left. In fact, for at least this moment in time, they might even hate Johnson a bit more than they hate Trump. Remarkable, really. Why? Well, that's pretty simple. It's reflected on one of Johnson's first answers having become Speaker and second in line to be President of the United States. He was asked about what his worldview is. His response was simple. Read the Bible. That was his answer to what is your worldview? Read the Bible. That caught the Democrats' hair on fire and their asses are catching. I mean, here is a proud American, a conservative, and an unapologetic Christian who is not afraid to say so. And then he laid out his vision of the world from that perspective when he outlined his 7 core and guiding principles. Listen to this.
I talked about the core principles of American conservatism, and that's individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, and human dignity. And under each of those, there would be subcategories. But that's what we stand for. I call them the core principles of American conservatism, but it's really the core principles of America itself. We're different. We're exceptional. The reason we're the freest, most powerful, most successful nation in the history of the world is because that's what we stand for. And those values and those principles are under assault right now, and we have to defend them here every day with everything we have.
Every day with everything we have. Individual freedom. That's right, the individual. Now, not a collective. Limited government so they don't run over those freedoms. The rule of law, incredibly important. Law and order. Peace through strength. Look at what's happening in Israel and Ukraine. Fiscal responsibility, we're $33 trillion in debt. Free markets, not socialism. And maybe most importantly, human dignity. Human dignity. Just let those settle in for a minute and ask yourself, how could any of those things be considered offensive to anyone? To me, they sound like the guiding principles that have served this nation very well for 247 years. And if we stick to those principles, there can be 247 more. But the left hates those kinds of things, hates it. And they hate the idea that Mike Johnson has foundational moral ideals behind what he'll be doing every day. I mean, how dare a guy show up with integrity and actually talk about it and how it guides him? To be fair, Speaker Johnson was not proselytizing. No, he was asked a question. He delivered an honest answer without blinking. And that is his crime. He is a Christian who is not ashamed to say so. Something pretty rare these days, certainly in the nation's capital. But that is certainly not Mike Johnson's only crime in the eyes of the progressive mob. No, 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 no. In fact, his crimes are so many, and they will stop at nothing in an effort to drag him down. But I say good luck with that, because so far, Mike Johnson looks like a formidable opponent. He's not going to back down. For example, when asked about what comes next in the impeachment inquiry for President Joe Biden, Johnson has been crystal clear that he and all members of Congress have an obligation to continue the investigation into the Biden family and determine what has been going on and why the family has brought in something on the order of $24 million over the past few years without any actual work in return. $24 million, no work. Speaker Johnson lit the left on fire for having the nerve to actually quote the United States Constitution. And for one word in particular, bribery. Bribery. Listen to this.
Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution itself expressly states that the sole power of impeachment belongs here to this House. And then Article 2, Section 4 says, listen to the language carefully. It's expressly written in the Constitution. This is not political talking points. We're not making this up. It says in Article 2, Section 4 that the president shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. My friends, I just listed just a small sampling, just the tip of the iceberg of the credible allegations and the mounting evidence that shows that Joseph Biden has engaged in bribery schemes, pay-to-play schemes. This is what the evidence shows. We have to follow it. We took an oath to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution requires this action. The inquiry is the appropriate step. We have no choice to pursue the facts wherever they lead, and we will leave no stone unturned.
So bribery, as detailed in the U.S. Constitution, those payments to Joe Biden have been described as bribery by some, and that is very problematic for those trying to defend the senile commander-in-chief who, for years, denied any knowledge at all of the business dealings of his son Hunter or his brother Jim, which nobody, by the way, nobody, not even the Democrats actually believe that. It's about as credible as Gold Bar Bob Menendez claiming he hid $500,000 in cash in his clothes out of the fear his money would be stolen by the communists. Yeah, please. So instead of arguing about what should be done and how it should be handled, the new speaker is preparing to demand answers from all the key players. And that has Democrats screaming. Why? Because they're terrified. Johnson says he is reviewing the possibility of subpoenas. Subpoenas against members of the president's family, including Hunter Biden. Listen to this.
Are you expecting to subpoena Hunter Biden?
I'm looking at that. I think that desperate times call for desperate measures, and that perhaps is overdue. We've not made a full decision yet. I'm counseling with the attorneys involved on all of this to see what the contours of. I'm an attorney myself, so I speak the language. We're trying to move forward on some of this very aggressively. I think the American people are owed these answers, and I think our suspicions about all this, the evidence that we've gathered so far, as you know, is affirming what many of us feared may be the worst. And, as Jamie Comer likes to say, bank records don't lie. We already have a lot of this evidence. The dots are being connected, and we'll see where it leads.
Yeah, we'll see where it leads. You see, he's going to follow the truth. And here's the thing that makes Johnson so problematic for them. He's an attorney, apparently a pretty decent one, a constitutional attorney. He knows the language, he knows the game, he knows the parliamentary tricks involved with going forward to get those subpoenas issued and to get them answered. If you want to drag people like Steve Bannon into court and find him guilty of not responding to a congressional subpoena, well then, what's good for the goose will be good for the Biden clan as well. That's where we find ourselves. I've got a lot more to cover here today. Good to have you. Find out more at SteveGruber.com. SteveGruber.com. I'll be back after the break.